When it comes to bigger trucks, you've only got a few options, but that doesn't mean the competition is any less fierce than a busier part of the market. This is Out Motorsports, the channel for cars as you are. My name is Jake, and I am here with the latest version of Ford's Super Duty. I am here with a 2023 Ford F-350 Limited, and a lot of what Ford has done carried right on through to the 2024 model year because these trucks were, as they say, all new for 2023. Now, I'm going to be towing with it, and a lot of what they've done for the 2023 and 2024 updates focuses a lot on trailer tech and towing tech. So we'll talk all about what's new there and what they've done otherwise, and then get this out on the road with my trailer and talk about how it pulls. So first things first, if you're an avid Ford Super Duty fan, you'll notice that the styling of the Super Duty here is new for 2023. And it's kind of a love it or hate it design, as are all these brand new trucks, and they're all very tall, and that is a whole conversation for another day. I really don't love it, but in any case, this is the styling on the 2023s and 2024s, and this one is a limited, so this is your top trim level. Obviously, the lower trims are going to look a little different. They've got different grills, different noses for them, and then Ford's done some styling updates otherwise with the rear, with the interior, that sort of thing. But what I'm here to talk about is what's under the hood. In this case, for 2023, Ford added 2 different engine options on top of 2 others that are carryovers from a year or 2 prior. So you've got 2 gasoline engine options. You've got now a 6.8 liter V8 engine, and then that 7.3 liter Godzilla V8, which kind of took the place of the old V10. But as you can probably hear, this one is a diesel, and this is Ford's high output power stroke. So it is still a 6.7 liter power stroke diesel V8 engine, but in this case, it gets a new turbo, new exhaust manifolds, and a different tune, and that gives it 500 horsepower and 1,200 pound-feet of torque. That is a ton of torque. The standard diesel, if you don't need 1,200 pound-feet, is still going to be 1,050 pound-feet of torque and 475 horsepower. So it is nice to have a little bit more if you're going for that top towing rating, if you're trying to pull a ton of weight, and I mean many tons, because if you spec these right, you have to get an F-450, but either way, if you spec a Super Duty properly, Ford has it rated to tow up to 40,000 pounds. It's a lot of pounds. Now in this case, this one's not spec'd to pull that much because this is a 350, not a 450. And then of course you've got the 250 below that that's rated to pull a little bit less. But this particular truck that I'm driving is rated to pull 24,000 pounds with a traditional tag bumper pull style hitch, which is what my trailer uses. If you use a gooseneck hitch, you can do up to 27,000 pounds with that. So there's plenty of mechanical trailering capability going on here, but one of Ford's big things with the 2023 Super Duty was adding a lot of towing tech that made towing easier, whether it's something you do once every couple of months or something you do once every couple of hours. So let's talk about what they've done, and then we'll put this all to use in the real world, because I'm going to tow my race car down to the shop. My race car winters somewhere else versus where I live, and it's time to head down there. So we're going to use this big guy to pull a trailer that's ultimately going to feel like a couple of cotton balls behind it. But either way, good test of the tech. So a couple of things that Ford has done here with technology, and I think it's all pretty cool actually. I'm not just saying this because it's in the press release for the truck, but starting with the tailgate here, you've got a regular tailgate that has typical camera to help you back up so you can see everything with the hitch. But what if the tailgate is lowered? Well, Ford has added some stuff to the tailgate that I think is kind of fascinating. So they've got backup sensors here, and they've added another camera. And the whole goal here is that you can have the tailgate down, let's say if you're hooking up a gooseneck trailer, or you've got some big stuff in the bed, and now you've got backup sensors and a backup camera that work with the tailgate down. I think that's pretty neat. I do question the durability because these all face upwards, so if things are falling onto the truck, but I mean, if things are falling onto the truck, you've probably got bigger problems. This still retains the slide-out step that Ford has kind of pioneered for a while now, and it's useful because these things are very tall, and I'm a tall person, and I think it's a tall truck. So if you need that step to get in and out, that is certainly in there for you to use. Now, the other trick with this tailgate is it is power operated, so that is something I didn't think I needed or cared about, but it certainly is nice. Now you'll notice I've already got my trailer hitch installed in the receiver, and we are going to use Ford's Pro Trailer Hitch Assist to help us back up the truck to the coupler. They introduced this technology on the F-150 earlier this year, and I think it's pretty neat. In theory, the truck will back itself right up to the trailer hitch coupler, and all you have to do is get out and drop it right on there. You don't need any special stickers on the trailer. You don't need to do anything other than identify the hitch coupler on the touchscreen, and it will kind of do its own thing. Now, of course, we saw all of that in a pretty controlled, good scenario at the Javits Center in New York City for the auto show, but I want to see how this works in the real real world here, so we'll give that a shot in just a second. Other thing that Ford has added to the Super Duty that I think is really, really brilliant is all about payload. So payload is a big deal. We're not gonna really do much with my trailer. It only weighs 7,000 pounds, but payload between what's in the truck bed, what's on the hitch is a big deal. You wanna make sure you're within specs for the sake of keeping the truck happy, liability if you have a crash, that sort of thing. And Ford has added smart scales effectively. So what the truck can do is it can sense how much weight is on each axle, and it can show both on the touchscreen and in the taillights. So great if you're loading the bed up with a lot of stuff, but they've got a similar feature that uses the same sensors to tell you if your weight is distributed between the front and rear axles if you're towing a trailer. So do you have too much tongue weight back here? Are you pulling too much weight off the front axles that can impact your steering? You got too much back here, that sort of thing. So we'll see how that works as well when we get this all hooked up. Okay, so we are approaching my trailer, and all I'm gonna do here is get sort of in position, but I'm not really that comfortable because this is a big truck, and you know, I'm very just unsure of what I'm doing here. So I'm just gonna get it, let's try it like this first. So what I'm gonna do is push and hold the Pro Trailer button. Is the trailer connected? No, 'tis not. All right, initializing Pro Trailer Hitch Assist. This may take a minute, that is fine. Okay, so now it says move vehicle, so trailer coupler is inside target. So I'm just going to kind of wiggle myself around here, go a little further out because it doesn't quite know. And oh, there's the coupler right there. All right, I have stopped. So stop to indicate this is the correct trailer. Shift to reverse to proceed. Press and hold Pro Trailer button to start. And all I'm doing, my feet are off the pedals. I'm simply holding the button. And this is the weirdest thing ever. And it's doing the steering, it's doing the braking. All right, we have stopped. Make sure the trailer coupler height is appropriate. They don't want you banging into your trailer coupler. I know it's appropriate, so I'm just gonna hit it's appropriate. And now push and hold the button to resume. And are we gonna do it? Are we gonna do it? Are we gonna do it? Shift to park. Okay, now I want to talk all about trailer setup and those smart scales that tell you how much weight you've got between each of your axles. So I'm going to first add a new trailer in here. Trailer name, we'll just call it Zip Ties, as I have always called it. Trailer type is conventional. Save. Continue to setup. Yes. All right, I've got electric brakes on this thing. Trailer brake effort medium. Sure. Enter the length from the ball of the trailer's rear bumper. That is 27 feet. It is an, it is 8.5 feet wide. It is roughly 10 feet tall. And the trailer's gross weight rating, we'll just say, is 8,000 pounds. All right, so that is all set up. It is active, that is lovely. One cool thing that's in here, Ford has a trailer connection alarm. So if you've got the trailer hooked up and someone unhooks it because they're being nefarious and they want to steal it, if you have this turned on, it will sound the alarm and it will send a notification to your phone if you have the Ford Pass app installed, and it will let you know that someone is up to no good. Trailer blind spot is ready, that's great. They also have smart trailer navigation setup, which is what I put in here. This basically uses the truck's built-in navigation to make sure that you are not going to go anywhere where you're over height. So that's a really nice thing. You do have to use the truck's built-in nav, not CarPlay or Android Auto, but you know, modern navigation is pretty decent. So we're going to try it on the way to the shop. So I've got the trailer set up, but the other thing I want to talk about is this smart hitch setup. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that button on the features screen here. And I've got options for conventional, weight distribution, gooseneck, or fifth wheel, because they're all a little bit different, obviously. Now, I'm not using weight distribution here because I'm not towing anywhere near this truck's rated weight, so we're just gonna go with conventional and hit quick setup. So it wants me to add all the cargo I'm gonna use in the truck and then reset the hitch weight. So I'm basically zeroing out the scales here. So cargo is just me, and it says make sure the trailer is disconnected. So reset the weight on the hitch to 0, yes. Enter total weight of the loaded trailer. It is about 7,000 pounds. There is an option for unknown trailer weight, but since I know what it is, we're gonna do it. And now, increase the hitch weight by moving the load in the trailer toward the hitch. Now, the nice thing here, it shows you kind of where you want to be for your tongue weight, but I can also hit this tail lamps button and it's going to show me on the tail lights. So that is really, really neat. So let's go ahead and drop the trailer back on here and see what it does. And then here we go, weight on the hitch is within the recommended range. It shows that we're right at 10% or about 700 pounds on the trailer tongue. And Ford's saying that you're okay between 10 and 15% for this truck, which fantastic. Now, obviously I don't need more tongue weight, so 10% is plenty. And there's no need to use weight distribution because I'm within that spec for just that back axle. So if I was towing a lot more weight, of course, we would talk about weight distribution and set up things a little bit differently. But 7,000 pounds versus what this is rated for is totally fine. So let's get our destination in the navigation, and I know where I'm going. I'm not going to be over height, but in any case, let's hit the road. So let's talk about towing with this 2023 F-350. So first thing I want to talk about is power, of course, getting on the interstate here, but also as I change lanes, I want you to watch this center screen because there are some cool tricks that Ford's got up their sleeve with the cameras. So I'm in tow haul mode, which changes a few things. We'll talk about that in a second, but getting up to speed here is just no big deal. Obviously, you've got plenty of power, plenty of torque, and it just, you know, this is not a crazy trailer to be pulling. We'll talk about that in a second as well. But that's the heaviest acceleration you're going to see this whole driving portion, because really the diesel and the gearing and the everything it's just fine. And I'm not pulling that much weight. Now it would have to work a lot harder, obviously, if I was pulling anywhere near its weighted rate limits of the truck, but even then, I mean, Ford's got this thing set up to pull, you know, they're using the same engine in the one that's rated for 40,000 pounds, and it's the same state of tune, it's the same power and torque output, all that stuff. So it is, I think, totally fine. Plenty of power, plenty of torque, you're never gonna worry about that. Gearing wise, this one has the 355 axles in it. If you get one that can tow more weight, i.e. if you get a F-450, that's going to have different axle gearing. That's part of how they get that extra tow rating. But in any case, let's talk about stuff with this one. So as you may have noticed, when I was merging onto the interstate, I put my left turn signal on and the entire infotainment screen became my side view camera. That is really, really great. I'm glad to see it in here. This is not something that Ford pioneered. This is something that GM did first, I think. I'm like 99% sure GM did it first. And I think it's just brilliant. I think every truck should do it, and the cameras are angled such that you see all the way down the length of the truck and trailer, so super, super helpful there. Now the other thing you can do while you're on the move here is hit the camera button, and that will actually turn on a view of left and right cameras so you can see what's going on at highway speed. You can leave this up as long as you want. You don't have to do anything with it. So this, I think, is really fantastic. It's just, again, nice to have up if you want it. Hit the camera button, it'll go away. And then obviously when you turn on your turn signal like I am now, it will come back up. Now I've also got trailer blind spot monitoring. Ford's had this for a long time and they've got it set up to work with very long trailers, so it also works very well. And I've got power extending side view mirrors. So all of this together makes me very confident as far as knowing where things are around me. I've got good visibility, and I think that is a strong suit of this truck. It's easy to kind of see everything. Now the nose is very, very tall. I was just pulling out of a rest stop there. That's where you saw me. There was a family next to me with young kids. And first of all, don't let your kids run around in the truck and trailer part of the parking lot. That is a very bad idea. But I was keeping a very, very watchful eye on the little kids that were running right next to me and didn't go anywhere until they were moved. Thankfully, there is a front-facing camera, so that is also useful, but the nose of these things is just so tall, and like I said, it's a whole separate video, but I really don't love it. And the diesel engine needs all the height. They're tall engines, but if you get the gassers, I had a Chevy 2500 gasser that was didn't need all the hood height, so I just wish we could have them be a little shorter. So like I said, visibility generally pretty good given what you're working with. Other nice thing that Ford's got going on here, I mentioned I'm using the built-in Ford navigation system because it does some trailer routing trickery as far as height limitations and you know, roads it knows aren't optimized for trailers or where you're not allowed to tow a trailer, that sort of thing. They say it's all in here, and it's doing a nice job so far. We're going to interrupt this broadcast for a blue flippy headlight early Acura NSX coming up right here. Love that. All right, back to trucks. So Navigation is set for trailer optimization. It is working nicely, and it ties in with both the gauge cluster screen, it's a fully digital cluster on this limited trim, and the heads-up display that this limited trim has. Now, the HUD is actually really useful, and so is the gauge cluster screen. I didn't love the cluster screen when they first debuted this. They debuted it in the 2021 F-150, and I felt like it didn't really use all the pixels that effectively. But what's nice here, they've updated these so that they actually can change what you're doing based on drive mode, which seems very obvious, but it didn't really do a whole lot at the time. So anyway, what it's doing is I've got a nice big speedometer, I've got my trip information in the middle, and then I've decided to set it up with my trailer information on the left, so I can see trailer brake gain, how far I've towed it today, the fuel economy I'm getting, and the pitch of the whole rig. And it moves the tachometer to a little bar-sized graph up in the top left, plus some other gauges. And since I'm using the built-in trailer nav, and it knows the size of the trailer, what it weighs, all that good stuff. This is a trick Ford pulled from the F-150 Lightning electric truck. The fuel gauge now shows a revised distance to empty because it knows what I'm towing. So it says, okay, we think you're gonna get lesser fuel economy, obviously, you're dragging something behind you, but we know roughly what it weighs, roughly what it's sized, and your, 500 some miles to empty is now actually 263. So I think that's really a clever touch, and it's good to just kind of keep an eye on, because obviously long tows, you're on the interstate, it's just nice to plan out. Where I am now, I'm on I-95, which is of course filled with traffic, but if you're going somewhere where your gas stops are few and far between, you may want to keep an eye on this gauge. So I think this is all very useful information, and then this is all paired to some nice buttons on the steering wheel, plenty of buttons and knobs over here, and some more above the screen to control various functions of the truck. So I think that is also really nice. I can control everything without looking. Got knobs for volume and tuning, if anyone tunes a radio anymore, dual zone climate, trailer brake control and drive modes and all that. Very, very easy. And then up here, the two key buttons, or really three for me. You've got your exhaust brake, so I've got that set to automatic because yay diesels, I love having it do that. And it is very helpful as far as with, actual braking, using less of the brake pads. Although again, I'm not pulling too much weight here. And then I've got the camera button, which is very helpful. And then the other thing that I just like to know where it is and have easy access is the hazards, because on 95 in particular, you get a lot of people that are just completely confused about how they're driving and feel the need to slow down to 30 miles an hour on the interstate for some reason. So I like to warn people. In fact, as is kind of happening, I need to stop speaking this stuff into existence. So slowing down, just hit the hazards, let everyone know behind us what we're doing. Then you hear that exhaust brake. And in tow haul mode in particular, I've long said that I think Ford's tow haul programming is really spectacular, and I still think it is here. It's doing a really nice job of downshifts combined with the exhaust brake. It's very smart. It's helping me slow the rig down very easily on top of the trailer brakes. Now, I mentioned what I'm towing is not really stressing this truck too much. It's about 7,000 pounds. My race car trailer is a 20-foot box. It's an aluminum trailer, and then there's the V-nose that adds about 4 feet, and total length from hitch to taillights is 27 feet. The total curb weight there is about 7,000 pounds. Obviously, the profile of an enclosed trailer adds some aerodynamic drag and some load no matter what you're pulling it with, but it's not a ton of weight for this. So hard to say how this would feel pulling 20,000 pounds by comparison, but I think it would be fine. It would just be slower. The suspension is really set up nice for what this is. Obviously in the city, unloaded, you've got stiff springs, particularly in the back, to handle your extra load, your payload, your tongue weight, whatever. So it can be a little rough, but no one's expecting it to be great. But on the highway here, this feels really buttoned up, really stable. You've got that plus the long wheelbase, and this is actually the short wheelbase of this truck. This is the 160-inch wheelbase. There is a longer one if you want the longer bed, but this is the 6 3/4 foot bed and the shorter wheelbase of the two that they offer on the crew cab. So in any case, it rides really nice. It's plenty stable. Now I'm towing on a windy day, and you do feel the wind. Like, this is just a lot of brick in the wind to be pushed around, and that's fine. It's what you're getting into. Obviously, if you use weight distribution and sway control, that could help a little bit. If you're pulling a Goose versus a tag trailer, that could help a bit, just as far as where the weight goes, but this is doing a really nice job. Steering, I think, is appropriate for what you're doing. It's nicely weighted. You're not really looking for steering feedback or feel here. You're not looking to read every pebble in the road, but it does a nice job. Generally a really good truck. I'm enjoying all the extra towing tech. I think it is very smart, and that combined with how Ford sets up their tow haul mode, to me, this is just a really, really nicely done tow vehicle. And all right, that is it for this towing review with the 2023 and frankly 2024 Ford F-350 Super Duty. Thank you so much for coming along. As always, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe right here on YouTube. Give us a follow on all the other social medias that we're on, and head over to outmotorsports.com if you'd like to join fellow LGBT automotive enthusiasts and motorsports competitors. We're already planning a bunch of events for 2024, both in person and online, on both coasts around the country, and we would love to have you for any and all of that. Till next time, as always, stay safe, be well. See you for the next one.